It started with something as innocuous as upgrading our internet. A shiny new modem, faster speeds, and an app to manage the network, technology meant to simplify life. But what I uncovered instead was a connection I never bargained for. Late one night, I was casually exploring the app, marveling at the sheer number of devices linked to our Wi-Fi. One name stood out, an Android phone. Strange, I thought. We were an Apple-only household. At first, I assumed someone had cracked our Wi-Fi password. So, I changed it. Problem solved, or so I thought. Days later, the mysterious device reappeared. It was only when I noticed its absence during Cindy's work hours, only to reappear upon her return, that suspicion began to creep in. Determined to investigate, I discreetly searched her car, her purse, even her briefcase. Nothing. But fate has a sense of humor. That night, as Cindy showered, I rummaged through her gym bag and found it, a burner phone, carefully tucked away. I didn't have time to unlock it, so I returned it, pretending nothing had changed. The next time she left for the gym, I looked again. It was gone. My heart raced. Later that evening, I found it once more in her briefcase. This time, I acted. The phone was locked, and none of Cindy's usual passwords worked. Desperate, I took it to a tech repair shop, spilling the truth to the technician, a confession as raw as the betrayal I suspected. He must have seen the pain in my eyes, because an hour later, he handed me a thumb drive. At home, I plugged it into my computer. Images. Texts. 9 months' worth of torrid messages and explicit pictures between Cindy and not one but two men. My chest tightened, breath caught in my throat. 6 years of marriage unraveled in mere seconds. Panic gripped me, an emotional implosion so severe I thought I was dying. But after an hour, the storm passed, leaving me hollow. When Cindy came home, she seemed frantic. Her eyes darted around as she searched for some papers. I played dumb, even offered to help. Then, I reached into my pocket, pulled out the burner phone, and asked if this was what she was looking for. The color drained from her face, her eyes wide as a deer caught in headlights. I confronted her, asked outright if she was cheating. She denied it. Fine, I said, handing her the phone. Unlock it and prove me wrong. Her voice cracked as she turned the blame on me. Invasion of privacy. She cried. I didn't waver. Her deflection only confirmed what I already knew. When tears welled in my eyes, her icy demeanor softened. She admitted to one affair, claiming it was a fleeting mistake. I wasn't buying it. I grabbed my tablet and opened the files, the graphic proof. Only once? I asked, my voice shaking as I slid the screen toward her. She broke down, sobbing apologies, insisting it wasn't my fault, begging for another chance. But my trust had been shattered. We talked late into the night, a grueling interrogation. How many times? With whom? Where? Did they use protection? Were they better than me? She couldn't handle the barrage and finally snapped. Enough, she cried. She agreed to stay at her sister's for the week while I processed everything. What she didn't know was that I'd already scheduled a consultation with an attorney. Over the next few days, I methodically unraveled the web of deceit. I met with the wife of one of her affair partners, handing her the damning evidence. Her reaction was heartbreaking but resolute. Divorce proceedings were underway. I also confided in Cindy's sister, the one who'd recently divorced her own cheating husband. She was furious, devastated, and deeply apologetic on Cindy's behalf. When Cindy returned to collect some belongings, she seemed repentant, desperate to salvage what remained. She claimed the affairs weren't about our relationship or our sex life, spicy and frequent, as she reminded me, but about the thrill, the attention. She even suggested therapy, offering to explore why she sought such validation. Her desperation was palpable. She even proposed giving me a pass to even the score. But how do you heal when the scars run this deep? How do you forgive when trust lies in ashes? I don't know yet. What I do know is this: sometimes, faster internet doesn't just speed up downloads, it reveals the truth, unfiltered and undeniable. The suggestion hit like a thunderclap. We could try an open marriage, she said. A way to explore things together. But I didn't hesitate. That's not something I'll ever be interested in, I replied firmly. She looked at me then, with eyes that seemed to plead for another chance. She missed me, she said. She wanted to come back, even if it meant starting over by sleeping in the spare bedroom. But my heart wasn't ready. It's too soon, I told her. I needed more time. What I didn't mention was that I had already filed for divorce. She'd be served by next week, according to my lawyer. We still had a couples counseling session scheduled for Wednesday, but I knew I needed to cancel it. What was the point? Her betrayal had carved a chasm between us, one that no therapy could bridge. Our views on relationships were galaxies apart, irreconcilable. Meanwhile, Cindy had her own storm brewing. Her sister had confronted her about the affairs. She told me Cindy wasn't pleased, but deep down, she must have known it was coming. Now, her entire family knew. Even her parents were upset. This morning, a few mutual friends stopped by. At first, it felt like a gesture of support, but their real purpose quickly surfaced. Give Cindy another chance, they urged. Work things out. I could barely believe my ears. How much did they even know? I brought them up to speed, showing them the phone, the messages, the evidence. Their faces turned crimson with embarrassment. They'd been fed her version of the story, the sanitized one. Now they understood. The community weighed in, too. You're modeling self-respect, one person wrote. That's rare. Your ex will move in with some sucker within 6 months, mark my words. Another chimed in, echoing my thoughts. Your views on relationships are so fundamentally different. Reconciling would be a mistake. One voice was particularly blunt. She's spinning her own narrative, leaving out everything that makes her look bad. If she truly wanted to work things out, she'd be honest, transparent. Instead, she's minimizing her actions to protect herself. This isn't about you, it's about her. Others highlighted the absurdity of her actions. It's always fascinating how cheaters suddenly find the energy to fix a marriage after they're caught. Where was that enthusiasm before? And another delivered a stark truth. She's broken this relationship beyond repair. Stay the course. As for the friends urging me to reconsider, one community member offered a scathing suggestion. Ask them if you can sleep with their wife and still have them stay together. If not, they should keep quiet. Later, Cindy brought up therapy again, almost like it was her Hail Mary pass in this losing game. It felt theatrical, like an audition for some twisted reality show, Cheating Spouses, Redemption Edition. But this wasn't a game, and I wasn't a contestant. I'd already bought my ticket out of this circus. And then came today's pivotal moment. You've been served. It took 3 attempts, but at 2:15 p.m., Cindy finally received the papers at her office. An hour later, she called. Her voice was a cocktail of anger and disbelief. I stayed calm. It's a power exchange, I told her. You had all the control before, but now I'm taking it back. I asked her a question that had been burning in my mind for weeks. When you started cheating, did you ever think about what would happen if you got caught? Isn't that why you got a second phone? Her silence was deafening. She still insisted she wanted to work things out. Reluctantly, I agreed to counseling, not to reconcile, but to get answers. At least insurance would cover most of the cost. The truth? I have no desire to fix what's broken. But for now, I'll play along, biding my time until the divorce is final. The community wasn't short on thoughts. She probably spent that hour talking to her affair partner, one speculated. When he turned her down, she came running back to you. Another added, her current partner can't sustain her lifestyle. She's only trying to stay with you because you can. But one comment stood out. If she really wanted to stay, she'd be open, write you a full timeline, and stop hiding. Anything less is just words. Imagine this, a polygraph to validate the entire written timeline, a safeguard to uphold her version of events. But here's the truth, what she wants isn't you. It's the lifestyle. A hard realization, isn't it? I was in your shoes 18 years ago. My ex-wife's affair partner couldn't sustain her expensive tastes. She was greedy, selfish, and materialistic, traits that only deepened over time. When her new life fell apart just 3 months in, she tried crawling back. But I wasn't interested in being a consolation prize. She didn't want me, she wanted what I represented, a life of comfort. I wanted something far more valuable, a partner who genuinely wanted me. That's when I learned the most critical lesson: cheaters lie. They minimize. They twist truths into shadows, avoiding consequences. But here's the thing, you're reclaiming control now, turning the tables with every deliberate step. It's almost poetic, isn't it? Marriage can teach lessons about power dynamics, and divorce? That's the ultimate test. Counseling becomes a battlefield of gritted teeth and subtle power plays. It's a masterclass in resilience until the judge drops the final gavel. And speaking of tables turning, I had my own moment of clarity. After work, I wandered into a quiet downtown restaurant, the pre-dinner lull offering just enough peace for a drink and a conversation with the bartender. Sharing my story, I revealed my wife's year-long betrayal with not one, but two men. The first? Married. His wife had suspected infidelity but lacked proof until I handed her the evidence. Her plan: wait for the perfect moment to serve him divorce papers, no warning, no mercy. The bartender leaned in, intrigued. What about the second guy? He asked. Oh, he's single, I replied, a slow smile creeping onto my face. But let's just say I believe in karma. Sometimes, karma needs a little encouragement. He laughed, probably thinking it was all in good fun. But when the bill arrived, he froze, staring at my name on the card. I signed with a flourish, then dropped the hammer. Give my regards to Cindy, I said, a knowing smirk playing on my lips. Be seeing you, Kevin. The satisfaction? Unparalleled. It was revenge served neat, with a side of poetic justice. That single moment, watching his expression shift, knowing I'd left him reeling, was worth every ounce of pain leading up to it. And just when I thought it couldn't get better, karma delivered once again. The wife of Affair Partner 1 filed for divorce. Affair Partner 2? Fired from his job 2 days after our little interaction. A coincidence, but poetic nonetheless. And the cherry on top? Sharing the sordid details with my soon-to-be ex's sister, who had recently endured her own betrayal. The ripple effects? Monumental. Credit cards canceled. Bank accounts split. Invitations revoked from friends who once welcomed her with open arms. The fallout was swift and merciless. Then came counseling. Her fury bubbled over as she accused me of ruining her affair partners' lives. I barely flinched. I had nothing to do with Kevin losing his job, I said coolly, but forgive me if I lack sympathy for the people who helped destroy my marriage. Her deflections couldn't mask the truth. She'd been in contact with them, but when pressed, she refused to show her phone. That refusal? My cue to leave. Before I walked out, I laid my terms bare, a full account of her betrayal. Names, dates, details, nothing held back. A list of anyone who knew and kept it secret. Public apologies across social media, complete with the names of her partners in crime. And finally, her commitment to respond to the divorce papers. Her hesitation spoke volumes, but she conceded. By the end of the day, her confession hit social media like a wildfire. Fast forward to the settlement meeting. She wanted the house, I wanted closure. She agreed to take on $111,000 in debt in exchange for my staying put. A fair trade, don't you think? But reconciliation? That's a question for another day. For now, I savor the victory, a bittersweet symphony of justice. To those walking a similar path, know this: the player always gets played. The truth always finds a way. And sometimes, revenge is best served with a drink in hand and a smile on your face. Cheers to reclaiming your narrative, one bold move at a time.